That Tom Cotton is a liar and a racist is without a doubt a fact. And his interview with Chuck Todd today proves beyond any doubt that he is a liar and a racist. I want to play for you the clip from Meet the Press, and I'm going to let Tom Cotton basically tell you that he was not upset by any of the comments that the president made by when the president called the countries in Africa shitholes. He, with his own words, is going to say that he was not upset. And with his own words, you know, he's going to call himself a liar. Because 10 days ago, he emphatically said that the president didn't use profanity, didn't use the term shithouse or shithole. But Lindsey Graham has gone on the record, even though Mr. Cotton doesn't seem to believe so. Lindsey Graham did an interview where he specifically said it's a damn shame that you have to remove your kids from the room when you're reporting the news. And the news was that President Trump had used that derogatory language in reference to the countries in Africa. But here's the interview of this racist asshole, Tom Cotton.
Of the Senate Republicans, who has taken a particularly tough stance on illegal immigration, has been Tom Cotton of Arkansas, and Senator Cotton joins me now. Senator, welcome back to the press.
Morning, Chuck. Good to be with you.
All right. What would you say of what kind of deal the president will accept? Because there does seem to be the president, Tuesday Trump, I guess as Lindsey Graham likes to call him, you were in that larger meeting. He looked like he was willing to essentially accept Graham Durbin. And then a lot of people say you got to him and you stiffened his spine. So can you explain the president's position? Because it doesn't seem to be clear, as Mitch McConnell himself has said.
Chuck, I don't think anyone got to Donald Trump. Donald Trump studied the proposal that Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham put in front of him and realized it.
Now, that's the first lie he told. Donald Trump doesn't study anything. Donald Trump can't stand to sit there and read for 5 minutes unless it's a bunch of pictures. So, yeah, somebody did get to him. Now, whether it was Tom Cotton or whether it was Stephen Miller or the chief of staff, Kelly, somebody that was in that meeting or privy to that meeting got to Donald Trump. So that's the first lie he just told.
Didn't address any of our key priorities. Not only did it give legal protections to the population that is in the DACA program, but it gave a mass amnesty to their parents as well, the people that created the problem to begin with. Didn't give money for new border
citizenship. They weren't going to get
citizenship. But it gives them legal status. That's an amnesty by adjusting their status from illegal to legal, no matter what you call it. Didn't give money to build any new border barriers, only repair past border barriers. It didn't do anything to stop chain migration. Here's what the president has been clear on. Here's what I and so many Senate Republicans have been clear on. We're willing to protect this population that is in the DACA program. If we do that, though, it's going to have negative consequences. First, it's going to lead to more illegal immigration with children. That's why the security enforcement measures are so important. And second, it means you're going to create an entire new population through chain migration that can bring in more people into this country that's not based on their skills and education and so forth. That's why we have to address chain migration as well. That is a narrow and focused package that should have the support of both parties.
Okay, let me stop him right there. On the chain migration piece, within the agreement that Graham and Durbin brought to the president, they stated that, and I quote, the DACA recipients who become legalized cannot sponsor anyone other than their parents, not even their siblings, anyone other than their parents, and they must be at least 18 years old, and the parents obviously must go through vetting. So that ends the chain migration. They can sponsor their parents for a green card, okay? And then once the parents get the green card and go through the 7 to 8 years in order to become citizens, because they were naturalized citizens, they could not in turn sponsor cousins or aunts or uncles. They could only sponsor children. That's part one. Part two, on the wall. The president asked for $1.6 billion in order to repair the wall in that agreement. Now, a subsequent agreement was offered by Chuck Schumer to completely fund, well, not appropriate the funds, but agree to the funding of $18 billion for the damn wall, which is bullshit. And I totally disagree with that because, according to Donald Trump, Mexico was supposed to pay for it. So keep that campaign promise, okay? But let's continue.
As I was saying to Senator Durbin, it sounds like Democrats are willing to accept everything you're talking about on a smaller population. Like, let's deal with the DACA and DACA-related population on all of those issues. That's part one. And then there's a part two that you deal with the larger immigration law changes. That seems very reasonable. Why do you find that unreasonable?
So first, let me just say that Congress hasn't gotten part one right for decades, so it's important that we focus on part one. But second, the proposal that Senator Durbin and Senator Graham put forward doesn't do any of those things. As I said, it doesn't just give legal protections for the 700,000 persons in the DACA program, but to millions of other people, to include the parents who brought those kids here in the first place. Second, on security, no new border construction, only repair of existing construction.
Right, that's already changed. That's already changed. Chuck Schumer on Friday gave him full funding for the wall, $18 billion. Put it on the table. Done. That's already changed.
Were you in that meeting?
I'm just. Do you?
I wasn't in the meeting either.
Okay.
My point.
But
see, so now he's using a negative, asking Chuck if he was in the meeting. Okay, since Chuck obviously wasn't, and he wasn't in the meeting, then he's casting aspersions on what Chuck Schumer said as far as the agreement was concerned. He can't speak on that agreement because he wasn't in the damn meeting. Okay, but he would want us to believe that what Chuck Schumer stated was a lie. This guy loves intimating stuff without actually saying it.
It's hard for the president to negotiate. It's hard for the president or for Senate Republicans to negotiate when the Democrats sitting across the table don't get what they want. They run out and they misrepresent what was a good faith effort to listen and to build trust, claim that some ridiculous deal was made, and then claim that the president walked away from that deal. And the media buys it hook, line, and sinker.
See, and he just did it again. He's saying that the Democrats claim a deal was made. He wasn't there, so he doesn't know whether a deal was made or not. And based on his history and Trump's history, I would tend to fall on the side of the Democrats as far as being more truthful. So I would believe that a deal was actually made, and then the president did what he always does. He flip-flopped on the deal.
The president and the Senate Republicans engaged on this issue have been consistent since September, when the president ended President Obama's unlawful program. The problem we have is for 4.5 months, the Democrats have not been negotiating over these very real and very honest concerns.
What I don't understand is, how do you not see it as progress now that Chuck Schumer even publicly is saying you get full funding for the wall? Luis Gutierrez publicly saying you get funding for the wall. How is that not done? How is that not a done deal? They've already moved. Why? If you're the Democrats here, they say we've moved much farther.
So Chuck, that's a good.
Right. Okay. And now check this out. Okay. The Democrats basically have moved on every single point that the Republicans wanted. So now what do the Republicans do, which is what they always do? They move the goalposts back. So now all of a sudden the Democrats agreeing to conditions that the Republicans initially said now becomes a good first step. Check it out.
A done deal. They've already moved. Why? If you're the Democrats here, they say we've moved much farther.
So Chuck, that's a good first step. But the devil is always in the details of immigration. It's a very complicated area of law. Last week, Senator Durbin, Senator Graham were saying you get funding for the wall. You don't get new funding for it. You get funding to repair existing, and it's only 1 year.
That's an old offer.
We've seen this time and time again in the immigration.
See, now, and he fell back to the old offer. He's not willing to acknowledge the current offer. So he's going back in history instead of dealing with the conditions that are presently in existence. Deflection at its best.
Base. Promises are made, promises are not kept because we spend money on a year-to-year basis. Second, you still have the problem of chain migration and of creating an entire new group of immigrants that is going to be able to bring millions of new immigrants to this country without regard to their skills or their education level, their ability to get a job and stand on their own 2 feet. We have to solve those 2 negative side effects of giving legal protections to the DACA population. That's the parameters of the deal that we all agreed to a couple Tuesdays ago at the White House.
Do you think it's a fair stance that if you can't vote for a bill, the president shouldn't agree to it?
Well, look, we all serve in co-equal branches, the House, the Senate, and the President. We all make our independent decisions. I work with the President on this issue. I work with Senate and House Republicans. I'm more than happy to sit down with any Democrats.
Do you plan to support on anything, whatever the president eventually agrees to, will you support that bill, hook, line, and sinker?
Well, no, I can't make that commitment at all. I will evaluate any deal on its merits and what's best for the people of Arkansas and best for our country.
All right.
Now, there was a reason why he asked that question, okay? And the reason is, supposedly, Tom Cotton and I guess it's Perdue, senator from Georgia, have an agreement with the president that they have veto power over anything, any type of agreement on immigration policy. So, and if that is in fact the case, then Trump can't make a decision on anything if he stands by his agreement with Cotton and Perdue. So that is more than likely an additional reason for Trump flip-flopping here. Trump agrees to something, then he runs it past Cotton and Perdue. They don't like it, and they're not going to like anything that the Democrats or even the bipartisan senators put together. So they shoot it down. Then he's got to come. Then the president's got to come back and say it's no good.
You question the credibility of the Democrats when they go into a meeting and they come out. I got to ask you about the infamous meeting of 10 days ago. Did the president?
Now here's where this motherfucker shows his true colors and exposes himself as a liar. And Chuck Todd should have been a lot harder on his ass than he was.
I think he's a vulgarity.
Chuck, I'm not going to get into every word that was or was not said.
Now, Chuck just asked him, did the president use a vulgarity? Okay. And now, all of a sudden, he's not going to get into every word the president said. But just a week ago, he turned around and emphatically said that the president didn't use that language. Now, all of a sudden, he can't get into every word the president said. The guy's a fucking liar.
Chuck, I'm not going to get into every word that was or was not said. I will say, as many people have said, Kirsten Nelson, under oath, that a lot of strong language was used. I think it's fair to say that there was some cursing behind closed doors.
Okay, what I don't understand is in the first 48 hours that there was a controversy about whether it was said, you implied it wasn't said at all. And it made it seem as if you were accusing Dick Durbin of being a liar. And Lindsey Graham of being a liar.
Here's what was missed.
Do you understand?
As far as I know, Lindsey Graham hasn't spoken on the record about.
As far as you know, well, you don't follow the news because Lindsey Graham has spoken on the record to Tim Scott, who relayed his comments. So as far as I'm concerned, that's on the record.
Yes, Chuck. Here's the point. That Senator Durbin represented that President Trump used repeatedly used vile, racist, hateful language. That's not the case. If it was, why didn't he say anything? Why didn't he slam his paper down and get up and walk out? What President Trump and others...
Look, using vile language is not a cause to stand up and walk out for everybody. So this guy is floating a false premise that because the vile language was used, everybody should have gotten up and walked out. Well, apparently you like vile language because you didn't stand up and walk out. And neither did anybody else. So the premise that everybody should have stood up and walked out because of the vile language, the cuss words, nah, that's basically just a deflection.
In that meeting expressed was astonishment that Senator Durbin and Senator Graham would would bring a proposal that wouldn't move us towards a skills-based system, but move us towards a system in which we are rewarding people based on where they come from, not who they are. The whole point of immigration reform is to judge people as individuals based on who they are and what they can contribute to our society, not where they come from or who they're related to.
But
Notice that he got away from the original question and moved it to a different subject.
to go back to this issue of sort of trust on both sides, you let it sort of hang out there that Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham were misleading the public completely. And only now are you admitting, well, yeah, there was some vulgarity used. That isn't what you said a week ago. That isn't what you said 10 days ago at the time. Why?
Chuck, I've never denied that there wasn't strong language used in the meeting by lots of people. You know,
No, you only denied that the president didn't say shithouse or shithole or whatever shit it was. You specifically said he didn't do that. And people are basically saying that the president even acknowledged to his supporters that same night when he was calling people up that he did. So you're a fucking liar.
I'm not a shrinking violet about these things. I've been in a command post overseas. I've heard some salty language before. What I'm saying is, it is a gross misrepresentation.
Were you offended? Lindsey Graham appears to be offended. He said his piece. Were you offended by what the president said?
I was not offended, and nobody.
Okay, and that's because you're a racist. You weren't offended. But at least two people in that meeting were.
In the meeting expressed their offense at any of the
Lindsey
language
Graham
that was
didn't
used.
make his piece?
Lindsey Graham made a case about immigration policy. He didn't make a case about what the president was saying.
He said in his letter that he said his piece about what American ideals are about. Did he do that or not?
Yes, he did. And that's part of immigration policies, because immigration policy is a...
Yeah, okay, see, and here we go with the semantics again. Lindsey Graham basically told, well, I wasn't there, but I'm assuming Lindsey Graham basically told the president that he shouldn't refer to the countries in Africa as shithouses because they're immigrants, and that he comes from immigrants and so does the president. And for him to call the countries of Africa shithouses is inappropriate. Lindsey Graham said something like that. Now he's going to conflate it, since none of us were there, to say that Lindsey Graham said his piece over immigration policy. This guy is a piece of fucking work.
Of who we are, who we're going to bring to this country to become new American citizens.
All right, Senator Tom Cotton with closing remarks. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
All right, so there you have it. This guy's a fucking racist. He's a liar. And hopefully, you know, it's Arkansas, but hopefully when his term comes up and he's got to run, that either, yeah, I want to be honest with you, either the Republicans put up somebody to primary this guy, which is going to be difficult as far right as this guy is, or the Democrats put somebody up that's going to bring up all of this stuff, including the fact that he lied to the American public, and the fact that he didn't really care that Trump called the countries of Africa shitholes, indicating his racial preference. But we'll see.